Hey guys! Before we jump right into today's crazy myth, I have some massive top tier news. Remember last week when I told you guys about that secret 3D Greek mythology game I was building on the Lidex 3D and how I was going to launch it public so that you guys can play it after my school presentation? Well, the presentation happened. It went amazing, and the game is officially going public. You can finally play it yourself. Okay, so I'm going to tell you how to play it. Of course, a link in the description. If you're on a computer or a laptop, you can type Dionysus edu, or just click the link. And you can set up an account. It's completely free. And if you're on mobile, like iPad or iPhone, you have to download. If you are on iOS, you have to download the Lidex edu. And then you have to search in the search tab the AIG project in all caps. That's currently the name for the project right now. I'm not going to change it. And yeah, basically that's it. I put a ton of work into this, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Also, I don't get paid. I just want to share it. So, as I said, the link is right down in the description, so go check it out, test your mythology skills, support me, and let me know what you think. Alright, now, let's get back to the episode. Hey guys, welcome back to Tales of Olympus, the podcast where we dive into the wildest, most dramatic, and sometimes just downright unbelievable stories from Greek mythology. I'm your host, Ariel Ligao, and today we are diving into a story about a guy who quite literally had too much of a good thing. Now, if you've read the Heroes of Olympus, you probably remember this guy as the tacky billionaire living in an oversized gold mansion in Omaha, turning poor Leo Valdez and Piper McLean into expensive lawn ornaments. But today, we're throwing it back to the original myth, the OG cautionary tale of greed, bad choices, and the absolute worst case of buyer's remorse in ancient history. Grab your Dr. Pepper and secure your magic items, because today we are talking about King Midas and the Golden Touch. Now, every mess in Greek mythology that isn't involved with love usually starts with a god getting bored, a hero getting cocky, or a satyr getting lost. This one is a mix of the last two. King Midas was the king of Phrygia. He was already filthy rich, had a gorgeous rose garden, and honestly, he had a pretty sweet setup, but he wanted more. Enter Silenus. If you know your Greek mythology, Silenus is an old, perpetually drunk satyr who happens to be the foster father and the right-hand man of Dionysus, Mr. D himself. One day, Silenus drinks a little too much wine. Shocking, I know. And wanders off into King Midas' famous rose gardens, passing out cold. Instead of throwing him in the dungeons, Midas recognizes who he is. He thinks, hey, if I throw this guy a massive 10-day party, give him a place to stay, his boss might owe me a favor. The lesson? Always be nice to the drunk guy in your garden if he has goat legs and hangs out with the god of wine. After 10 days of non-stop feasting, Midas returns Silenus to Dionysus. Mr. D is so thrilled to have his buddy back that he looks at Midas and says, "Name your reward. Anything you want, it's yours." Now, if Percy Jackson were there, he'd probably ask for blue cookies or maybe a break from saving the world. If Annabeth were there, Percy would ask for architectural funding. Midas used 0 brain cells. He says, "I wanted everything I touched to turn to gold." Dionysus, being a god, knows this is a terrible idea. He even asks Midas if he's sure. But Midas is too stubborn. So Dionysus signs, snaps his fingers, and says, "Granted." Midas is ecstatic. He walks back to his palace, testing out his new powers. He touches an oak twig. Boom, solid gold. He picks up a stone. Bam, 24-carat boulder. He plucks a rose from his garden. Clink, beautiful, shiny, and totally ruined because it doesn't smell like a rose anymore. At first, he's living the dream of the dreams. He thinks he's the smartest king alive. But here's the thing about the Midas touch. It doesn't have an off switch. Midas sits down for a massive victory feast. He's starving. He reaches for a piece of freshly baked bread. The second his fingers graze it, it turns to hard metallic lump. He tries to bite into a piece of meat. He almost breaks his teeth because now it's solid gold steak. He tries to take a sip of wine. Guess what? He's literally pouring gold down his throat. And then, the absolute worst part of the myth happens. In the original tales, his young daughter runs into the room to comfort him because he's crying over his ruined dinner. Before he can stop her, she throws her arms around him and freezes. In a fraction of a second, his beloved daughter becomes a lifeless, glittering golden statue. Suddenly, all that wealth feels like a tomb. He realizes that his greed has isolated him from anything that actually matters. He can't eat, he can't drink, and he might have just accidentally petrified his own wife and kid. Now, what happens next has two endings, very different ones. The first one is that he prays to Dionysus, but Dionysus thinks he needs to learn a lesson, so leaves him there for the rest of eternity. The second one is he was desperate and starving, falls to his knees and prays to Dionysus, begging him to take the curse away. And thankfully, in this alternate ending, we'll go with this one, Mr. D isn't totally heartless, even if he does make the Camp Half-Blood campers clean the canoes. He tells Midas to go to the river Pactolus and wash his hands in the water. Midas runs to the river, plunges his hands in, and the golden flower, what am I thinking? I meant golden power flows out of him and into the water. The myths say the riverbeds still gleam with gold dust to this day because of it. Most importantly, Midas is able to use the water to change his daughter and his palace back to normal. You'd think he learned his lesson about making dumb deals with gods, right? Warning? This is a spoiler alert for a future episode. Answer? He didn't. He later argued with Apollo about music and got cursed with donkey ears and stuff. But, as we say, that's a story for another day. The end. The moral of the story, folks? Be careful what you wish for. True wealth isn't something you can store in a vault, and it definitely isn't worth losing the people you care about. Just ask Percy and Annabeth. They faced down Kronos, Tartarus, and a million monsters, and they'd still tell you that Camp Half-Blood, their friendship, is worth more than a mountain of gold. Alright, demigods, before I sign off, it's time for a lightning round of Tales of Olympus history facts. Because believe it or not, King Midas wasn't just a fairy tale. He was a real person. Here are 4 mind-blowing facts about the real ancient history behind the myth. Fact number 1. The real King Midas. There was a real King Midas who ruled Phrygia in the late 8th century BC, over 2,700 years ago. He was a super powerful king, and the ancient records from Assyria actually mention him. Fact number 2. The Golden River is real. The river Pactolus that Dionysus told Midas to wash his hands in is a real river in modern-day Turkey. And guess what? It actually was famous in ancient times for having tons of gold dust in the riverbeds. That gold is what made Midas' kingdom incredibly wealthy, which is probably how the story of the Golden Touch even started. Fact number 3. They found his tomb, maybe. In 1957, archaeologists dug up a massive ancient burial mound in Turkey called the Midas Mound. Inside, they found the skeleton of a king wrapped in expensive purple cloth, surrounded by massive bronze food or feast. Most historians think it's either Midas himself or his father, King Gordius. And the final fact, fact number 4, the original Midas touch meal. Scientists actually analyzed that dried up food leftovers found inside that 2,700-year-old tomb. They discovered that the funeral guests ate a massive barbecue of barbecued lamb, lentils, and a crazy ancient cocktail made of wine, beer, and honey mead. Talk about a feast fit for a golden king. Want to know what happened when Midas got cursed with donkey ears? Stay tuned for the future episodes. And that, my friends, is all for the episode of Tales of Olympus today. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast app, and whatever you do, don't shake hands with anyone wearing too much jewelry, especially gold ones. And as always, my name's Ariel. I'm 11 years old, and I will see you next episode. Bye!